Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How are you? Big mahalo for tuning in. Today we have a very special guest on the line. He is here in the islands for a pair of dates. He played last night on the Big Island. He is tonight on Maui at the Mac. And a celebrated trumpeter he is, a jazz musician from New Orleans, childhood friend of Wynton Marsalis, studied under Ellis Marsalis, part of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. He's done soundtrack scores for an arsenal of Spike Lee films. He's had 5 Grammys. He's had 12 nominations, and it is a pleasure to welcome for a conversation the great Terrence Blanchard. Aloha and mahalo, my brother. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to do this. I appreciate it.
Hey, man. How you doing? Thanks for asking me.
It's my pleasure, and a great thrill to finally get to catch up with you. What's your personal history here with the islands, Terrence?
Well, I'm just creating it right now as we speak. It's my first time here, so I'm really excited about being here. It's a beautiful place, and been learning a bit about the culture here, and the people here are so warm and friendly. It's a very inviting place. Makes you want to come back and spend more time here.
So your first ever visit to the islands, and you've been on the Big Island first, and how did the gig go over there?
It went great. I mean, the people were really receptive to what it was that we were doing, and the guys we always have a lot of fun playing, no matter where we are. And I woke up this morning in a beautiful setting. I'm looking at a picture of it right now on my computer as we speak.
Dig that. I'm sure you're racking up quite a few photographs and souvenirs and stuff to take back and share with people. Do you have any friends or family that live out here?
No. My wife wants to come, but she couldn't make this trip, but we'll probably come back and take a personal trip at some point.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That's definitely worth doing. For folks who have, obviously, people in the islands would have had to travel to see you somewhere else, sort of describe for folks the show that you're going to be putting on tonight over at the Mac.
Well, I mean, the band that I have is a very progressive band in the world of jazz. They're visionaries. While we're very steeped in the tradition of, modern jazz, these guys bring all different types of influences to what it is that we do. So the music can run the gambit. We can play Brazilian. We can play anything. But it all stems from one focal point of a sound that we created as a group. What people will hear is very honest music, very emotional music, very dynamic music if they come to hear the show.
I like that. And how many pieces in the band? Run through who you've got playing with you.
Well, it's a quintet. I have Fabian Almazan on piano, a young pianist, a brilliant mind from Cuba. The bassist is a young guy named Joshua Crumbley. He's 19 years old. He's from Los Angeles. I'm Bryce Winston on tenor saxophone, probably one of the most underrated guys in the business. He's a really great player from Tucson, Arizona. And Kendrick Scott, one of the premier drummers of his generation from Houston, Texas. This guy is really making a great name for himself.
Is it a case ever where the environment of where you're playing will dictate the set list, or do you guys come with an idea of the repertoire you're going to be laying on us?
Well, I mean, we have a library of stuff that we choose from, but we actually call a set on the show. We don't know what we're going to play until we hit the stage.
Nice.
And then once we start to play, it's all based on how we connect with an audience. That's really what it's about. Art Blakey used to say that all the time. He used to talk about concerts as being a very communal experience, and I still find that to be very true.
Do me a technical favor. I don't know whether it's like the connection or what. Sometimes, like your sentence gets real quiet. So, if anything you can all do to just keep yourself focused right in that the phone. I apologize, dude. I know you're kick-ass musician. You use microphones a lot better than I ever will. But just for the purposes of my interview, just keep that thing there. I appreciate it. Talking about Art Blakey, that's a good jumping off point to dig into. How did you come across that gig, and what are some of the lessons or maybe valuable bits of input that you've been able to pick up from that you take with you in the rest of your career?
Well, I joined that band after Wynton was in the band. Wynton was in the band for 2 years. I was in the band for about 4 years. And the thing that I learned from Art, man, were a lot of valuable lessons. I mean, Art always talked about the measure of a man. what it was that made you respected in this business. He always used to say, you never see a hearse followed by an armored car. He said the only thing that you take to the grave with you is respect.
That's a good one.
And so he'd always talk to us about that. And then he'd always also talk to us about the type of music that we play. He says, no matter what you do, he says, you never lie to an audience. He says, you never play above your audience. You never play beneath them. You play straight to them, And so that's what your music should be. It should be very honest. And I still live my life by a lot of those lessons today.
Are you able to take that sort of lesson out of music and I guess apply it to the rest of your life?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when I'm meeting people for the first time, when I'm interacting with people in every endeavor of my life, whether it be business or personal, I try to conduct myself in the same manner, and I try to be the same person, just straightforward. I never look down on people, or never feel that somebody's so above me that I can't function, because I look at all of us as being God's children. We're all equal under his eyes. So for me, it's just a matter of just enjoying my life and enjoying the experiences that I have.
That's a remarkable attitude. Certainly a lot of great lessons in that. How is it that you were able to begin at the age of 5, where so many of us are just sort of messing around with toys and barely able to communicate or offer the world anything? How was it that you were starting on the piano at that age?
Well, I mean, that's when, that's the whole thing about being blessed. You start to really believe, because for me, I was lucky to have great parents and grandparents. My grandfather played guitar, my dad sang opera, and my mom's sister played the piano. So as soon as I would sit down and tinker with the piano, their thing was they got tired of me hitting all the wrong notes. So they immediately said, okay, we need to give this boy some lessons if he's going to sit there all day banging on the piano. So they started me when I was 5, man, and I went on and off. I don't want people to think that once I started, it was just like smooth sailing from then. No, I stopped a couple of times, didn't think I wanted to do it, thought I wanted to be an athlete. Then every now and then I would come back to music. And then finally, it just stuck with me, and it became the thing that I felt called to do.
How'd the trumpet become a thing?
Well, there was a local musician by the name of Alvin Alcorn who came to my elementary school, and he gave a demonstration on New Orleans-style music. And I remember going home that day right after my dad had just got a piano at our house, because the piano was at my grandmother's house. And I told him I wanted to play the trumpet. Yeah.
And what did he say?
You can't say that on the radio. No, he was fine. He was fine. His whole thing was, he said, you can play the trumpet if you practice. He said, whatever you do, you have to practice. If you don't practice, I'm going to take the horn away from you. So that was his only concern.
So is there an element of discipline that you got from that I'm imagining you've been able to plug in over and over throughout your life?
Oh, man, my father was a workaholic. I mean, and I probably picked too much of that up, because I'm trying to balance my life out now and understand that, I still have to be a better husband and a better father. I've been working so much at the music thing. I try to make sure that when I'm home. Even though my studio is in the home, when it's family time, it's family time. I have to throw all that other stuff away.
Amen.
Because my father works so much,
Hey, at least you ended up doing it. At least you ended up having a family and stuff. You have the wife and kids. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, like myself, I have a workaholic father, and just sort of forsook. I don't know what the right phrase is. I sort of didn't follow through on maybe doing some of that family stuff.
Yeah.
And concentrate.
It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah, it is. I'm getting like real loud white noise. Are you in a noisy place? What's that noise? Do you hear that noise?
No. I'm in my room, and it's very quiet here.
No, I believe it.
It's probably just a connection.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure. I assume. I had no doubt you were still in a quiet place. I was just verifying, because on my end it was like this sea of white noise, but it's gone. When you think about the Marsalises, your connection to these cats who are As I just had Delphio on the other day. He was playing at he's playing on Maui, actually, at the Maui Jazz Festival. We were just talking a little bit about their family. It's among the most cherished musical families in the United States. I think was one of the ways I described them. How did you? I know he's your childhood friend of the family. How did you hook up with them, and what are some early memories of ways that you bonded with Wynton?
Well, my memories are that they're extremely horrible people. No.
I love it.
No. Branford is probably one of my best friends. We stay in touch all the time, man. We just saw each other out in Curacao. And I've been knowing those guys since we were in elementary school. And I think one of the things is we've all had a common love for music, a common passion for playing music, and I think it's one of the things we always try to talk about because some of the younger musicians got it wrong. With Wynton's success, people always started to think that was the goal, and that was never the goal. The goal was never that. The goal was to play music. I remember when Wynton was going to Juilliard, I was thinking about going to school out on the West Coast, and we had a conversation. He probably didn't even remember this, but I remember we had a conversation on the phone talking about how he'd be playing in the clubs on the East Coast and I'd be playing in clubs on the West Coast, man, and we'd be doing our thing. We never thought that all of this other stuff would take off the way it has. And when you look at everything that Wynton has done with Lincoln Center and the stuff Branford has been doing, we are all very blessed.
Yeah, man, there's no question. Those cats are they're very very special individuals, and actually, you and I sort of have a connection a few times removed. Your Ted Curlin agency, who you're with, and Jack Randall there is a real good friend of mine.
Okay.
And I lived in Boston for a long, long time, and I guess I mention it because when you talk about the Marsalises, the way you describe how cool and down to earth they are. One time I got to hang with Branford via Jack in Boston, and I was struck by that about him. What a really warm, approachable, welcoming sort of guy. And I wonder if all of your experiences with them are sort of that way, and if that was part of how you connected with Ellis and studying under him.
Oh yeah, man. Listen, man, there was no other way for us to be. I mean, that's just the way we are from people from the South. I mean, it's we never tried to have any pretension about anything that we were doing. As a matter of fact, we would call each other out on it if we saw it. I remember when we were kids, we always used to say, "Hey, bro, if we ever see anybody doing a bunch of BS, bro, we're just gonna walk up to them and smack you in the face, and you'll know why."
That's good stuff. Tell me about studying under Ellis Marsalis.
Well, Ellis was a great teacher, man. He exposed us to the history of the music, and gave me a lot of stuff to listen to and check out. The thing that was like really cool about Ellis is that Ellis was one of a number of teachers in the New Orleans area who committed themselves to teaching us. There was also Kid Jordan. There was Roger Dickinson, who was my composition and piano teacher. There were Alvin Baptiste. There were a number of those guys who were African American, who had experiences all over the world, but felt the need to come back and get involved in the community. And I applaud them for it. And it's one of the reasons why I'm educated to this day, is because those guys gave back, and we were the beneficiaries of that.
Wow, that's really humble that you would give the credit like that, and it is probably been. I can see how it would be influential, not just on you, but a whole generation, really, of musicians.
Oh yeah,
who have been able to sort of benefit from that. What was it that led you to Spike Lee? Share how you got connected to Spike.
Totally by accident. They were hiring musicians to play on a session, and I was called to play on some of the stuff. And at the same time that they were doing that, Lenny Whitehead called me to play on this track with these singers, and Spike used the track in the movie, and he didn't know I was the one that played the trumpet solo on it. And when he found out, man, we just started talking, and I was hired to come back and play on some of the other sessions, and I would walk in with my Lakers paraphernalia on, and that also caught his eye. But then he heard me playing the piano and asked if he could use what it was that I was playing. and then asked me if I could write a string arrangement for it, and then that's how our whole relationship in the film world began.
And such a lucrative thing for you in so many ways. It's given you a lot of opportunities. Tell us a cool Spike story, or perhaps one of your favorite moments of working together on one of his films.
Well, one of the things is that I've always said Spike, he always tries to say that he doesn't know much about music, and that's totally not the truth. He has a very, very keen ear for music. I remember us being in the studio one day, and we were listening to a playback, and he goes, and the full string section was playing, everybody. And he goes, "Hey, man, yeah, those violas are out of tune." And I go, "Yeah, man, the violas are out of tune." And I stopped and I said, "Wait a minute, hold on. First of all, how can you hear that the violas are out of tune in the midst of first and second violins, cello, and bass? How do you know there was a viola?" And he just looked at me and giggled. I said, "Okay." Fool me once, shame on me.
Wow, that's a great moment. That's some great reflection. Another cat in the studio that I know that you've gotten to work with who's a real monster. I've only seen him once, but I was so impressed with watching him live. That was Herbie Hancock. You got to work with him, having him as a producer. Take us to those sessions. Give us an idea what it meant for you and anything you may have picked up from that master.
Well, Herbie was the one that made us think totally differently about ourselves as a band. Because, we were looking at Herbie as being the person to kind of, shepherd us along the way, which he did. But he also said, "Well, listen, man, you guys have been doing your thing." He says, "You guys have developed a sound as a group." And for him to say that was a crowning moment for us. It gave us a lot of confidence in the fact that what we were doing was something positive. And he's the type of person, man, he's like a very open person who's still searching, who's still on the brink of trying to find inspiration to create, and he played differently on every take, was always stretching all the time. And it was a big lesson for us because he didn't just come in the session and get paid. He came in and he listened to what we were doing, had great suggestions, had great comments to try to inspire us, and was just great in producing that record.
Through that kind of interaction, suggestions, interplay in the studio, did you develop a friendship with him, or are you able to just reach out to him whenever you want? Or?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been knowing Herbie for a while through my relationship with the Thelonious Monk Institute. So, yeah, we definitely developed a relationship. As a matter of fact, we went on tour with Herbie. Kendrick and myself went on tour with Herbie a couple of years ago for about 10 weeks, man, and it was really cool.
Oh, wow.
Really cool.
That is awesome. Yeah, he is one inspiring cat. Definitely really, really, really heavy. I would love to talk to him someday. When was the last time you talked to him?
A couple of weeks ago. We were in D.C. At a performance together.
Is he hard to get an interview with, Terrence? You think I could pull that off?
No, it's hard.
It is, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't do many interviews. No.
And who could blame him? Who could blame him for it? Well, I'm really privileged that you gave me one, and I hope that I wish that it was, even though the length of time to get over there is kind of like a long taxi ride, it costs a few more ducats than that, so I'm not going to be able to make it over for the show tonight, but I'm sending, because I'm here in Honolulu, you're over in Maui.
Okay.
We got some water.
Right.
We got some water in between us and a couple $100 in airline tickets. So it isn't as magical to pull off, but I'm throwing you some love, a hug, a high five.
Appreciate it.
And I hope this was an okay interview. Hope that it kept you.
No, it was beautiful. It was great, man. It was really good. Great questions. It was really nice.
Nice. That means a lot. You be safe, and I hope it's a wonderful gig for you, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, man. All
right, brother.
I got everything I need. You be safe.
Thank you.
And take care. Aloha.